Hello, everyone, and welcome to Whiskey on the West Coast live. This is new. Thank you for being here, and I'm so excited to get to talk, to taste whiskey, to chat with all you, and to celebrate over 1,000 of us being on this channel talking about whiskey. Phenomenal. So let's get to it. Let's start the live. Well, this is exciting, and this is brand new to me. So, pardon the butterflies, but first order of business is the reason why we're all here. And then what's first on my mind is to thank you, to thank all those number one who are watching this live right now, and all those who have watched the videos on the channel, who've commented, who've subscribed, and have just interacted and enjoyed the videos so far. It's such a big encouragement to have people who are so passionate about whiskey and such a positive community at that. So I'm blown away by each and every one of you. Real talk here. When I started the channel back in December of 2022, it's already been that long. I started it with a hope in the first year that we'd get, like, I don't know, somewhere between 100 and 250 subscribers. So to see how it's grown, and just to see all the names, all these familiar names popping up, it's so exciting. So thank you once again for jumping on this live. If you're catching this on the replay, thank you so much as well. I really appreciate that, and leave comments down below with what you're seeing. Just gonna check the chat here right quickly before we launch into a few topics. Sheldon, nice, noteworthy. Thank you for being here. Steve, hello. It's a little early. We're here near Vancouver, BC, and so it's 11 a.m. In the morning. It's a little early for whiskey, but I had a lot of whiskey earlier in Scotland, so not too out of line. Aaron, howdy from Indiana. Throw it up there. Indiana checking in. Awesome, love it. Dan Thompson, hello. Sheldon, oh my freaking word! Seriously, that's so kind and generous. You're officially the first super chat, the first person to donate money to Whiskey on the West Coast. Thank you so much. Unexpected. Congrats on the 1K. Cheers. Thank you, Sheldon. That's really generous. I appreciate that, and that will definitely go towards more whiskey for the channel. Moving on here, Peter White. Peter White, always basically an institution for Canadian whiskey tube, whiskey channels, the whiskey community. Peter, you've got some crazy bottles in your collection. Welcome here, Donna. Good morning. Hope you're enjoying your morning here. Yesterday was about 33 degrees in Vancouver. It was hot. It was a hot day. Merrick, afternoon. Good luck with first life. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the well wishes. I will need it. I love the going back to Merrick. I love the map of Islay there. That's great. Loved my trip in Islay. Have lots to say about that later. And Sheldon first, awesome. Yeah, first, exactly. The YouTube tradition. All right. So, yeah, thank you. 1,000 subscribers. This has been absolutely insane. And the first thing, obviously, again, big thank you to you guys. And thank you to those who've sent in samples. Like Hexagonal Crank sent me some samples. I reviewed one of them. It was the Gordon and MacPhail Spey Malt 2000, which is just unreal. Independently bottled Macallan is so good at cask strength. That was an amazing Macallan. So it's really just I'm blown away by just how generous people are. Clayton from the Abbotsford Whiskey Club gave me the sample for my latest review too, the Redbreast 27-year-old. If you haven't checked that out, if you like Irish whiskey, I gave my thoughts on that. That was my second time having that. Spoiler, I wouldn't buck up to buy a bottle of Redbreast 27, but it was engaging. And if that's your wheelhouse, then it's probably a great bottle for you. But yeah, another big thank you goes out to all the channels that have given me shout outs, who've engaged in comments, checking out content, and all the channels I've learned from over the years too. Like getting into the whiskey community, no matter what, no matter if you're just someone who enjoys the whiskey, or if you're someone who's writing reviews on Reddit or adding to whiskey base, or if you're doing something like YouTube, you're standing on the shoulders of giants always. And for YouTube, one of those people is like Ralphie Mitchell, Ralphie.com. He's one of the first ones who was really doing reviews online. And obviously, a big figure in our community is Roy Aquavite, for bringing so many barflies and so much wonderful content, and really that education process so we can start enjoying better and better whiskey. I've learned so much from others, and then just having support from other channels. I don't want to list the channels that have reached out with like encouragement and just engaging in comments, because I'm going to miss people. But like John from Just Whiskey's done a lot of shout outs. Thank you, John. If you catch us on the replay, or if you join us. Whiskey Neighbor in Alberta, met him, great guy. Rob Whiskey in the Six, he shouted me out on his community board. So there's lots of great stuff like that. So one more note before I jump into some whiskey, because I don't want to be too self-aggrandizing here, is I was actually encouraged by two local YouTubers and podcasters in the Fraser Valley here to go ahead and give this a shot. I wasn't going to, and last year they're like, no, you have to do this. And so Aaron Pete from the Bigger Than Me podcast, he was on my case. He's like, you've got to do this YouTube channel. So he has a fantastic podcast, lots of different interviews, from MMA fighters to rappers to local historians and political figures. He's got a great show. He's on YouTube. He's on like iTunes, Spotify. So Aaron, thank you so much for the encouragement. Also, Tim from Black Flag Leather. He does leatherwork videos and really teaches you how to do leatherwork. And he's in Chilliwack, British Columbia, and he's been giving me tips all along on how to do things, because I came into this never doing anything like this before. So thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much, Aaron. So how I've got this laid out today, we're going to get to the bottle crack of the bottle that you guys voted for. But we're going to start with just a little bit of where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going, talking a little bit about what's to come on the channel. Richard Agnew, Ottawa, checking in. Congrats, Matt from Ottawa. Thank you, Richard. Thank you for always commenting on the videos and checking things out. I appreciate it. So where this all started, the day I went ahead and posted the first video for Whiskey on the West Coast. I'm going to try and play a video clip here. We'll see if it works. You could say I was a bit nervous. I was nervous. Let's take a look at this here. Before I hit this button. That was not good. All right. It's officially public. All right, let's take it down. Yeah, my immediate reaction, other than my cold Tim Hortons coffee was not great, was take it down, take this video down. Oh my gosh, it's public. But right from the get-go, right from the start, there was so much support. You guys were amazing. But it all started with a video, a review of one of my favorite value bottlings in whiskey, and that would be the Legic 10-year-old. This bottle right here. This is such a hero whiskey, as Roy Aquavite may say, to so many of us. It's that wonderful peat lick, a lot of sweetness, a lot of coastal notes, and some of that smoke, some of that brine, a lot of just like dessert flavors, and it just does so much heavy lifting. About like 30 ppm for phenols. It does so much heavy lifting for a bottle that in my market's priced around $70 or so. What a fantastic one. So I started with that for a reason, because it's a great value, it's great quality, and it's something that it seems to be in every market. So Legic 10, what a star, what a stunner. That is where it all started with our first review. and we did a couple trial runs with different equipment. And I'm gonna quickly show a clip from a video we didn't use before we got going here. Our first take, actually, on Whiskey on the West Coast.
Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey on the West Coast. My name is Matt, coming to you from beautiful British Columbia, where it's a little frosty right now. It's -1. That means it's perfect weather for drinking some peated single malt Scotch whiskey. Today we're going to be talking about tasting and reviewing the Legic 10-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey.
Yeah, so that's where it all started. It's a little I have to laugh at myself looking back at it. You're always your harshest critics, obviously. Um, so that's a bit of a trip looking at that clip and seeing where we are now. I actually recently visited the distillery that Legic 10 is made. It's made at the Tobermory Distillery. I'll put it in front of my face there. Tobermory Distillery on the Isle of Mull. And it is a small distillery. Getting to the distillery is quite an effort. We took a ferry from Oban on the mainland on the west coast of Scotland, and then after the ferry, we went ahead and we bussed to Tobermory. And there's a lot of single track road, and it's a really small community. It's really out of the way, but it's gorgeous. It's beautiful, and so Tobermory Distillery. It's a trek, but it's well worth visiting. And I'll bring up some photos here of the distillery to show you what it looks like. So this is the Tobermory Distillery. And if you take the bus there, you will see that um, it's actually right where the bus drops you off in Tobermory. So it's the terminus. It's right where you need to be. So if you're going there, you're on time crunch. Don't worry. When you step off the bus, you're at the distillery. That's the front of the distillery on the right hand side. It's the side there with the big Tobermory 1798. Lots of interesting history surrounding Tobermory, including being a brewery at one point. The name has been in question a few times, as well as it was actually a storage facility for a dairy company storing cheese. So, yeah, it's been through a lot of things, but right now it's just making fantastic quality, top notch whiskey. Um, Now, the community itself, the community's really pretty. Um, Tobermory Bay, actually, sorry, this is the inside of the distillery shop right here. Lots of bottles, lots of distillery exclusives, lots of high age Legic and Tobermory products. Really colorful too. And you'll see the colors of the boxes and the bottles. They match the surroundings of the distillery because the town looks like this. It's just gorgeous. Um, yeah, you can see the colors of the houses on the right-hand side. So that's where I think they're drawing their inspiration from for these bottles of whiskeys in the packaging. But really cute town, really wonderful, and it's really yeah a great visit. Um, on the beach there, you can find a ton of beach glass and a ton of pottery. It really cool little community. And the reason why I bring up the beach glass, in case you're not familiar, Legic, the name for Tobermory Distillery's peated products. Legic, it's Gaelic for safe harbor. That's what it means. And that's kind of ironic because it hasn't always been safe harbor for ships mooring there. There's a story of a Spanish Armada galleon in 1588. The bulk of the Spanish Armada fleet was defeated or destroyed. It was sailing up north and down the west coast of Scotland, and it went and it stopped in Tobermory Bay to make repairs and get supplies. And it was called the San Juan de Sicilia. I'm checking my notes here. Arrived in October 1588. Um, the clan chief of Clan MacLean actually enlisted some of these Spanish soldiers as mercenaries to help in their going conflict with the MacDonald clan. as they battled over land and shipping lanes, particularly shipping lanes to Ireland, is my understanding. Regardless, after the mercenaries were recalled back to the ship, getting ready to leave, the ship mysteriously blew up and sank to the bottom of Tobermory Bay. So not safe harbor for that ship. Later on, there was another ship, the HMS Dartmouth, was conducting anti-Jacobite patrols and operations on the western seaboard of Scotland. And basically, it went to Tobermory to force the Macleans to actually sign the Articles of Allegiance, swearing allegiance to William and Mary. And then in December of 1690, so this is about 100 years ago, 102, not years ago, years after the Spanish Armada galleon, the Dartmouth was sunk in a violent storm, which folklore has attributed to witchcraft. Well, I find Legic a really bewitching, wonderful, dark, stormy, and classic whiskey. So I'm gonna pour a bit of Legic here, which is a little risky starting off with peat, especially if I'm going to unpeat it later. But I got some coffee and water on the side here, so I'm gonna put Legic 10 to the side, and we'll pull up a different one here. Also, check comments while we're doing this. Danny Keenan, congrats on 1,000 subs. Thank you so much, Danny. I'm not sure if I caught yours earlier. Peter White, Legic 10 usually sells out quickly in Ontario as value bottles are few and far between. Yeah, the LCBO, the Hell CBO is notorious for not bringing in good bottles, pricing woes, all those sorts of things. I'm sorry for what you guys go through in Ontario. Hopefully you have some lifelines with the SAQ in Quebec. I know they do a Springbank Kilkerran lottery there. Hopefully you got some lifelines out to Alberta, maybe friends coming back. But it sounds like it's a rough life for whiskey fans in Ontario. We have it a bit better in BC. We have a public-private system, but it all still gets imported through the BC government. So prices are ridiculous here. Greg's whiskey guy. Greg checking in from Paris. Hello, Greg. I'm Matt, and everyone have some connection issues, but we'll try to follow as much as I can. Cheers. Nice pics, I see. Thank you, Greg. Hopefully the connection issues subside. I'm not sure if that's on my side. Again, we might run into some technical issues here, seeing as this is the first time we've done this. We tried testing the equipment as much as we can, but hopefully it's not on our side here. Colors, people saying hi to each other. Merrick, Legic 10 is still very reasonably priced here in the UK, often south of £40. Yeah, no, I mean, £40, that's a great price. You can get it on offer sometimes out of Alberta in Canada. It's about like $72 and you can get 10 or 15% off there. So yeah, really reasonably priced. And in BC, I think it's on offer for 73 Canadian. Glad to hear it's affordable in the UK, Merrick. Sheldon, I wish I could find the 18, but it seems to be nowhere in Alberta. I'll be talking about the 18. I've got a review I'm going to be doing in a side-by-side of the 18, Sheldon. The 18 you have to import from outside of Canada from the UK. I haven't done so. I'm preparing to try and do so. But I will say I've tried the 18. It's bloody brilliant. And it's not being imported by a distill into Canada, along with a lot of other great Legic products and Tobermory products. So we'll see if that changes in the future. It's the same owners of Bunnahabhain. And so, for instance, we don't get the Bunnahabhain 12 cast strength in Canada either. So Distel, you're doing great on the pricing side for your core range products. We need some of those if you have the stock back into Canada. Greg checking back in. Nope on mine. Nope on my side, Matt. Earlier on too. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Greg. Hopefully they sort themselves out. All right, so I'm gonna get to this bottle I held up here. So one of my absolute favorite independent bottlers is Gordon and MacPhail, and I'll put this a bit closer here. Gordon MacPhail. They have such a brilliant cask management policy. They make fantastic stuff. Well, I mean, they don't make it. They are stewards of it. And this bottle I'm going to read right here is a Legic, also mind my pronunciation of Ledaig. I might not be perfect on pronunciations here, but it is Ledaig from Tobermory Distillery on the island of Mull. It's a 2020 bottling of 2008 Ledaig distillate. It's 12 years old. Spent 9 years in a refill sherry hogshead. Great stuff so far. 3 years in a Hermitage French red wine cask. I mean, at 3 years, it's kind of a double maturation as opposed to a finish. My understanding of Hermitage red wine is that typically it is using Syrah grapes. So if you've had a Syrah, that might be similar. Um, this particular bottling from Gordon MacPhail, this one is 45% alcohol, which seems a strange bottling strength for an independent bottler. It's non-chill filtered. It is natural color. So we've got all the good nerdy whiskey stuff here, if I can put it that way. All the stuff us enthusiasts are looking for. We've got those stats, but the bottling strength is lower than you usually see. Usually it's like 46 for independence and integrity is usually the lower floor. However, Gordon MacPhail is doing everything right here. And speaking about bottling strength with Gordon MacPhail, they used to have some stuff that was bottled even lower. Their Distillery Labels series, I believe, used to be 43%. They've bumped that up now to 46%, which is a great move. Thank you, Gordon MacPhail, for doing that. And their Connoisseur's Choice range is always cask strength, so nothing to say there. Yeah, great stuff. I'm going to go ahead and pour a bit of this. I got actually a Gordon and MacPhail Capita here from a tasting I did with them. So I'll use that glass. Here, I'll pour it out here. Starting big. Ledaig early in the morning. I guess that's how we're going to do it here. Let that settle for a moment. If you've had both Ledaig and Tobermory distillate, if you've had the Tobermory 12 and Ledaig 10, let me know what you guys think. If you have a favor there, do you like Ledaig? I know some people are really divided on how they feel about the distillery. Some people don't like kind of like the cheesy funk you can get off of Ledaig in particular, where I'm a huge fan of those tones. One of the reasons why I love like Bruichladdich and Port Charlotte and others as well. Nose. You still got like that lemon citrus note on on there, along with all that wonderful peat and some brine. Oh man, some apple, some raspberry, a little cut of tar in there too. It's a great nose. It's not as raw or clean as the Ledaig 10. Ledaig 10 is a bit cleaner, and Ledaig 10 is way more on the dessert notes, way more on the caramels, butterscotches, toffees, and a cleaner, crisper sort of nose. This is more rounded. This is more how would I say? Yeah, it's been tamped down. It's a bit more subtle on the nose. And maybe the ABV being what 1.3% less. Maybe that has something to do with it too. It also has a couple extra years of age on it as opposed to 10 years. It's 12 years. All right, I'm gonna dive in with a sip. Slange, guys. Thanks for being here. Mm, nothing like Ledaig in the morning. Man, oh man. Yeah, berries, smoke, leather, peat, touch of coffee in there. Mm. No, no sulfur, no sulfur. I know we can worry about sulfur with wine casks, as well as sherry casks. No sulfur on this for me. I've enjoyed this bottle. However, I have to say, um, I I think I like the 10-year-old a bit better. I'll tell you why in a moment. Mm. Still, it's delicious. If someone offers me a bottle of this, I think I paid about $110 for this Canadian, maybe 120, which 110, $120 Canadian, really not much for independently bottled 12-year-old Lejig. So really, really happy with that. The value on this bottle was great. But I've done side by sides with the Lejig 10 a number of times, and I have to say that one takes it for me. It's just I like the more raw, clean presentation of the spirit in that note. But this is great for a change. This is a great for a side by side, and that's why I love independent bottles because they give you a different take on the distillate signature, on the distillery, the way they prefer to present their product, and you can learn a lot about the distillate. And sometimes it's even more enjoyable than the official bottlings. If I had to score this bottle, as far of a drink so far, you can see the level there. I'm probably giving this like an 85 or an 86, where I think I put Legic 10 closer to like 88 or so. It's a stunner. And again, for the price, $70 is 120. Yeah, love the Legic 10. Let's check the chat, see where you guys are at. Peter White saying hi to Greg. Love to see that. Peter White, I used to like the old purple tube Gordon MacPhail cast strength releases. Still have a couple heels left, but they were very reasonably price wise. Yeah. Honestly, I'm still finding Gordon MacPhail pretty reasonable in Alberta for prices, anyways. In BC, it's a lot more expensive, but I know I picked up a nice sherry cask, I believe 12-year-old Dalion for about $100 just last month. So there's still good value with Gordon MacPhail, but probably not in Ontario. And I mean BC there are some good prices for Gordon MacPhail. But I hear you. We all want the prices of old. Absolutely. Watchman 999, Watchman, welcome here. Good to hear from you. I have not seen the Legic 18 in Alberta for years. Yeah, yeah. Bane of our existence, things we cannot get that we wish we could, especially the good value things. Again, two bottles I'm desperate to have imported to Canada would be the Bunnahabhain 12 cast strength and the Legic 18. Those are top of my list, absolutely top of my list. Sheldon, I did a review of Tobermory 12, and which decent. It wasn't my favorite. I found there to be some heat and bitterness later in the palate. Legic is better. Very twiggy to me. Yeah, I can see the twiggy. I can see the twiggy bit. I was not a fan of the Tobermory 12 bottling I have when I first cracked it. And as I drank it, it really opened up. It really got better, which, I mean, how many people say that? Oh, yeah, it really opened up and got better later. But for that one, I really did experience that transition with that bottle. But it's definitely it's not an intention grabber for sure. It's not an intention grabber. And it does split people a bit. As I mentioned earlier, some people love it, some people don't. Let's see here. Watchmen not too bad. I hear such great things. Yeah, I mean, I've had it. Legic 18 is great if you can get it. I mean, I've only had a sample, but the sample I had, thanks to Hexagonal Crank, thanks you once again. Yeah, it's wonderful. Stephen, hey Stephen, we were talking earlier on the Scotch for Dummies live stream. High noon whiskey hour. Good start to the day. Hope everyone is well. Stephen, again, you're very close to legacy liquor there. SMWS, I think, is calling your name. Peter White, I rarely buy single malts in Ontario. Yeah, I still buy some in BC, but I am mainly sourcing from elsewhere, if you catch my drift. Greg, aside from some early 2000s underestimated official OBs, such as Legic 7-year-old, oh, okay, I prefer mostly often independent bottlings of Legic. I have two, and the most spectacular is a 13-year-old single cast by Elixir Distillers. I love Elixir Distillers. I love so much what they're doing. The Single Malt of Scotland range, as you're mentioning at the tail end there. There's some stunners there. I've got a Single Malt of Scotland Imperial that is unbelievable. A Glenbergie from Single Malt of Scotland is great. They've done some great stuff with independently bottled Bowmore, Ardmore. Yeah, I love them. And their Elements of Isla series is always bringing out great things. So lots of great things to say about Elixir Distillers. It beats my Port Ellen. Okay. That caught my attention. Okay. All right. Wow. Watchman 999. Hi from Calgary, Alberta. Thoughts on spirits of French lick? Eddie Gladden just showed up here. Okay. Yeah, you tend to prefer bourbon cask Legic as well, Greg. I hear you. I have a 17-year-old from. Oh, here. I don't have it open yet, but I've got a 17-year-old Legic I picked up here is of the camera that I'll be cracking into. Hopefully, when I get further down in this Hermitage cask, but this one is a refill bourbon barrel, 17 years old. Um, as you can tell, I'm a bit of a Gordon and MacPhail fanboy. Um, I won't give it away too much, but probably my favorite independent bottler. Close this glass here. Let's see here. Any more comments? SMWS puts out some excellent stuff. Yeah, they just put out a 17-year-old Bowmore in the latest release here and in Canada. It gets to us a bit late. Of course, it was the Fegile small batch from 2022 Fruity Time Travel. That is a nice refill bourbon bottle. Long week, cooler things than work. Yeah. All right. I think it's about time. I'm going to set this one aside. I'm going to set the Gordon MacPhail Legic aside, and we'll talk about some other bottlings here. Actually, you know what? I do have. I keep notes for a live to keep me on track, so I don't get lost too much. I do have a few more things to say about Legic before we move on. The 16 years in ex-bourbon, 2 years in sherry casks for those 18 years. So great information on that. If you have it in your area, just pick it up. Just pick up the Legic 18. It's a buy on the spot at the right price, and usually it's at the right price. Some questions being asked about the peated distillate at Tobermory in regards to the fact that they get their malt from the Port Ellen maltings on Islay. That's where they've sourced it for a number of years. And most of you probably know already, but Port Ellen is not going to be providing other distilleries outside the Diageo umbrella with peated malt going forward. I believe 2023 was going to be the last year they were reducing it or just cutting orders. And then 2024, I don't think they're going to be providing it to anyone other than the recent reopened Port Ellen distillery, Lagavulin, Kalila. So again, the Diageo distilleries. And so that's asked a lot of questions of distilleries that use the Port Ellen maltings. I mean, Ardbeg uses it. Killoman uses it for the non-Islay barley portion of their distillate. I could go on with all the different distilleries that use it. Lefroy, I believe they've added another malting floor at their distillery, but they only get 30 to 40% of their malt from their own malting floors, and the rest were coming from Port Ellen. And Lefroy is a sister distillery from Beam Suntory of Ardmore. So Ardmore also, their peated distillate might be in jeopardy. But like Lefroy and others, Legic was made with the Port Ellen maltings peated malt. So the questions I have are, where are they going to get their malt from? Is it still going to be using Islay peat in the kiln to smoke that malt or to dry it, not smoke it? And also, what impacts is that going to have on the flavor profile for Legic and others going forward? At Killoman, they downplayed the possible flavor impact, but I believe they were talking about importing malt from some of the mainland maltings, and I know most of the mainland maltings they don't use Islay peat as far as I know. So a lot of questions that need to be answered, and hopefully we get some answers soon. So yeah, we won't have answers, I guess, for probably 10 years, or if we get independently bottled Legic 8 years from now, maybe then we'll get the answers. Who knows? Mm. That's delicious casual drinking peated whiskey. That's phenomenal. All right. So something I wanted to address on the channel is a bottle that I'm putting to rest. I'm retiring a bottle from the channel. I've talked about it too much. It's made appearances in. I did a review on it. I used it as an example countless times in like a 7 tips video. I used it as an example as one of the ones we tasted with Guinness, trying to pair Guinness to whiskey in the St. Patrick's Day video. Um, and I also used it as a buy this, not that example as well. One of the 5 whiskeys I was trying to dissuade you from because of the price and price performance ratio, really. And so we're going to be retiring this bottle. You will not see it on the channel anymore because I'm sure you're tired of me whinging on about it. And that is the Macallan, A Night on Earth in Scotland. Yeah, terribly disappointing bottle from my perspective. When I bought it, it was about $150 Canadian after tax, and it simply just wasn't living up to expectations. Very simple palette, some orange, some like shortbread cookie, biscuit, vanilla, malt, maybe the lightest bit of spice. Very subtle. If you're a whiskey drinker that doesn't actually like whiskeys, or if you just like the quietest whiskeys possible, maybe it's someone who says they like Scotch, but really they just have a few Johnny Walkers on the shelf, so that sort of thing. They probably would really appreciate this. But for in our little community here, most of us, I think, our palates are past this. And for me, it was just a disappointment. And what's worse is this year, just a couple months ago, the BC Liquor Board, BC Liquor Stores, they went ahead and they doubled down on this. They went increased the price from $135 Canadian plus tax. We got 15% tax, took it up to about a bit over 150. They went on and they put this up to, I think it's now $234. It's over $250 after tax, this A Night on Earth in Scotland. And most of that money you're paying for is like the Russian nesting doll box that it comes in. Mine was destroyed in the fire we had last year, and so I don't have the box anymore. But yeah, oh man. I can hear it right now. If you've ever watched The Simpsons, there's a character, Ralph Wiggum, in a moment when they've beaten something to death. He's like crying. He's like, stop, stop. He's already dead. And so I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop talking about this whiskey. I might pour off sample bottles to hand out for people who challenge it, who say, no, I think it's actually probably pretty good. Macallan's the best. I had one guy tell me that it was the best bottle. I was pouring it at the Abster Whiskey Club. I was like, well, why is it the best bottle? And he turned to me and he said, because it's Macallan. There's Macallan fanboys out there. If this is your wheelhouse and you just love Macallan, have at her. But I am retiring this bottle. You will not see it again, with one asterisk, and that is future follow-up editions. Like if they do a Night on Earth in Canada or a Night on Earth in Latvia or wherever, maybe I'll pop on and I'll do a review of that. But I don't think I'll be buying a bottle. All right. Adios, muchacho. Okay. Let's check out the chat again here. Oh, I'm behind. Okay, missed some things. Let's see. Might be an unfair comparison between my Allergic 13 at 56.6, while my Port Ellen is a 33-year-old at 43%. Not your preferred age for Port Ellen. Oh man, okay. I mean, I wish I could say there was a preferred age for Port Ellen for me. You are, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, Greg. You're a seasoned whiskey vet, so I trust what you're saying there. 20 to 28 years so far seems to be the wheelhouse for Port Ellen. All right. You have to retry the official bottling 18. Last time I tried it, wasn't impressed. Plus price is high here. Interesting. I was looking at it in the UK and it looked to be selling for around like 75 to 90 pounds, which for an 18-year-old peated quality product seemed like great value. So hopefully it's more in line with that and not so high there, Greg. Yeah, it's going to be an issue for non-Diageo distilleries, 100%. And even in the presentation at Coloma, they said, Islay peat is just different. It's just different, which is why we use it for floor malting our own 100% Islay grown barley from the farms all around. And they have signs and names in the farms, so you can go discover where the farms are near Coloma. But they admitted that there's a particular flavor profile and character that comes from the peat. And when I asked the question about where are you sourcing your malt and is there any concerns about flavor difference, they played it down and said, We're not concerned that the flavor profile is going to change because we're still getting quality peated malt from our suppliers. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Silverdale, congrats! Got the same edition of the Black Art as mine. I did some research before buying this because I had the 7.1 and 8.1 available to me, and I went with the 7.1 for a few different reasons. I've heard great things about the 7.1. I'm excited to try it. I haven't yet. The Black Arts that I have tried previously are the 8.1, the 9.1, and the 10.1. I'll talk a little bit about those later, but I'm excited for the 7.1. All Adam Hannett editions. All Adam Hannett. Peter White can't be any worse than the Mac Edition 3. Yeah, the Mac editions, 1 and 2 have quite a reputation. I've got still a bottle of the 4 kicking around. I didn't mind the 4. I didn't buy the 5 or the 6. I didn't buy the 3. Yeah, enough said. Silverdale, don't know of any Macallan that's worth the price here in BC. 15 years, 300. Yeah, 15 years, 300. 18 years, like 545 or 575. There's so many better 18-year-old whiskeys that you could purchase at the price, multiple even, than Macallan 18 or the Macallan 15, as you're saying here. No, steer clear, avoid, and that's not me being cynical. That is me being a pragmatist. We're definitely no longer the target for this brand. Yeah, no, I think we're all in agreement here. Night on Earth is still 175 in Ontario, but not moving. Yeah, even 175 is beyond the pale. I understand that LCBO prices include tax, but at 175, you're still more expensive than what I paid for it originally. Yeah, no, Peter, wait, I know you're not gonna pick up that bottle. 75, hell, double it here. Oh, okay, so your prices are askew. Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering what Brexit has to do with that too, with new tariffs and trades. If it's old stock, obviously it's just someone having a laugh at our misfortune. 145 to 175 euro now. Okay, all right. So about Dan Thompson couldn't justify the price of the Black Arts when I was at Bruichladdich. Ended up getting the Armagnac Valanche Port Charlotte and their first rye with Islay grown rye. I tried the rye. I had to try that. The mix of Islay barley and Islay grown rye. Fascinating. I can't remember if that one was the Regeneration Project. I think that was the name of it. Really interesting to try a Scottish Islay grown rye. And the prices for the Black Arts at the distillery, yeah, I didn't touch them. I took a picture. I've got that picture later on in the slideshow here. And yeah, it was too much. I think they had the 6.1 and the 10.1 on the shelf. And the 6.1 was almost the same price as the 10.1, which why wouldn't it be at historic prices? It used to be priced lower, is my understanding. So yeah, I do not blame you for that. Peter White had a couple edition 2s, drank one, then traded the second bottle when it became too valuable to open. Yeah, smart choice. I probably would have done the same in your position. I mean, imagine cracking an edition 1 without looking at the value now and then checking it after the fact and realizing all the things you could have got for that Macallan edition 1. Yeah, not so great. Okay, I'm gonna go with a quick palate cleanser here to wash some of that peat out, just because I want my palate ready for what I'm gonna crack. So another hero bottling for me is the Bruichladdich Classic Laddie. If you follow the channel, you know that I'm a bit of a Bruichladdich fanboy. I love what they do. And I am a hound for all the news for Bruichladdich. And when we went ahead and visited the distillery, I had a fantastic time. I was in my glory. It was wonderful. And I'm just gonna shuffle around my notes here, so that I know exactly where we're going. Keep this train on track. Yeah. So I'm gonna pour this. There was some news with Bruichladdich, and I'll pull up the PowerPoint now. They're getting a bottle redesign. Oh, I guess I should have gone to this photo. There's the Port Ellen distillery and the Port Ellen maltings on Islay. So as we're talking about all the distilleries that get their malt from Port Ellen, that's what it looks like. As you're driving down the road, you smell the peat in the air when they're malting. It's pretty friggin' wonderful. I loved it. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna skip ahead just to oh boy, this picture right here. Bruichladdich, the classic laddie, is getting a redesign. Um, And they're doing it for a couple different reasons. One is just to be good, I guess, corporate citizens and to help the environment. So the new bottle, it's reducing single malt packaging and CO2 emissions by 65% through eliminating the tins. The tins are no more. If you're used to the classic Bruichladdich tins, they are going the way of the proverbial dodo bird. Um, and they're introducing significantly lighter recycled glass. So what I wanted to talk about here is compared to the old kind of dumpy round shaped bottling. What are you guys' thoughts on the new packaging there? I kind of like it honestly. I like kind of the more streamlined look. I like the embossing on the bottom with the Bruichladdich word mark and the eyelet at the top near the neck. I think it's a good look. I'm just hoping that this isn't paired with a price increase. I know sometimes distilleries do that. We didn't necessarily see that with Aaron when they redesigned their bottles. Prices are still fantastic with Aaron. So hopefully there's no change with Bruichladdich with these new bottlings as they're coming out. So in that way, yeah, I like it. I love it. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about that. Backing up. So where we're at now, where we're at now. So I asked you guys to vote for a celebration bottle, something I could crack to celebrate hitting 1,000 subscribers. Once again, I'll never stop saying thank you. Thank you for caring about whiskey, caring about the channel, and joining the conversation. And there's one bottle that got about 50% of all the votes the YouTube poll, on the Instagram poll, and even if I included write-in comments, the one bottle still would have won. It was overwhelming. So basically about 50% of the votes went to the Bruichladdich Black Art 7.1. And there was some stiff competition. The Aaron Drumadoon Point 23-year-old, Tobamore 17-year-old, Oloroso Cast Strength, and Ledgig 18-year-old. So we have a winner. We know what we will be cracking today as a live bottle crack. That is the Black Art 7.1. A lot of glare on it there, but Black Art 7.1. So first things first, I got to pour myself a palate cleanser. We'll get that on the road, and then we'll crack the Bruichladdich Black Art. We'll talk about Bruichladdich. We'll let it air out a little bit, and we'll get to some live bottle crack tasting notes. Pressure will be on. Classic Laddie is so good. If you're not familiar with the bottling codes on the back, they used to be able to get all the vintages for the Classic Laddie with this bottle code down here. You'd punch it in on the website, and what you would be able to get is all the cask types. You'd get the vintages. You'd get sometimes like the barley strains too. Just a wealth of information. Bruichladdich is known for being transparent. They're very transparent distillery, and they want to give you more information, not less, as well as more ABV. This is 50% alcohol, as I'm sure you guys are aware. The SWA, Scotch Whisky Association, came down on them for disclosing the ages of all the whiskey in the Classic Laddie. And so now they can only put the vintage year for the youngest whiskey in this on the website, which I think is ridiculous. If they're giving us all the information, they're not trying to pull one over on us. My understanding is the rules are there to protect the consumer from being told, oh yeah, there's like 40-year-old whiskey in this bottle, but it's only 1% of it. Declaring that there's 40-year-old whiskey, but they're really being 3-year-old whiskey average or something like that. That's not what Bruichladdich were doing. So I don't understand why they came down so hard on them. But you're not here for me complaining about the Scotch Whisky Association, here for the whiskey. So yeah, let's check the comments. I'll take this palate cleanser and we'll pour this Black Art. Bruichladdich is a perfect palate cleanser in this case. Gets me back onto the distillate signature, and it's not overly influenced in any way. It's not like a sherry bomb. It's not a whole bunch of peat. It's perfect for this moment. Let's see here. Silverdale, I'm crazy for Bruichladdich Organic. I put it almost on par with the Black Art. Wow. Okay. I was not in love with the most recent organic. I loved the Islay barley release. That stood out to me in a lineup of the Bear barley, the Black Art, all of it. But again, there's lots of differences in the vintages. So I'm here for that. I'm here for anything Bruichladdich, really. I am. Too bad, still an opaque bottle. Yeah, I've seen some comments back and forth on that. Some people happy that, no tin, but it's still protected from the sun. I don't know how much the opaque bottle protects it from the sun, but I'm game for that a bit. But yeah, it is nice also to see the color of the whiskey, and see the fill level. I mean, you can shine a light on this bottle and check it out. But I do understand there's some downsides to it. Dan Thompson, it stands out at a bar slash pub. Though. It does. The blue is eye catching. And actually, we'll put up in a moment. We'll put up some pictures of the distillery from when I visited. Yeah, they've really embraced that theme of the color. Hmm. Got a comment from Peter White. I remember buying the 4.1. That's a sought after bottle. Jim McEwen's last Black Art. I remember buying the 4.1 in Ontario, $250, and 2 days later the price jumped to $350, which is what the 5.1 went for. That was the end of my Black Art purchases. Yeah, the prices. It's an ongoing battle. It's a seemingly a never-ending battle until we get to another whiskey lock, until the world turns on to rum or tequila or something else. I'm not sure if it'll ever go back. I'm not saying I want it to, because there's a lot of distilleries and a lot of people's jobs that would be hurt. But the prices we could do for a correction, I feel like. Sugar Kitty, hello, meow, meow, indeed. Um, I'm happy to see you show up. You're another one of those institutions on Scotch on the Bayou, on Aquavite, the V Pub. Yeah, you're all over the place. Welcome here. Uh, there's a lot of meows happening. Kyla will be happy about that. Kyla actually met the Tobermory cat in Tobermory. She sat in the middle of the road petting this really adorable, cute orange cat in Tobermory, and she was in her glory. She loved it. She loved it. Oh, Greg, I recently hesitated between a Port Charlotte 10 and Bruichladdich 2013 Islay Barley and finally chose the PC 10 as I recently tried a great one in a show and so hope my batch will be like it. Yeah, the Port Charlotte 10 I do believe is getting better. I've been hearing that from circles all over the place. I've got an older edition, I think from 2019 or 2020, about half full right now. And I'm really looking forward to getting a new bottle to see if I can do a batch comparison. We'll finish catching up on these here. So many of you. This is awesome. I honestly didn't know what to expect. If I should expect like 1 or 2 people to show up, or if we get 10 or 15. And right now it looks like 17 people. I'm floored. You guys are awesome. And far too kind and generous with your time. I appreciate it greatly. Simcoe. That's a familiar name. Hello, Simcoe. Welcome here. I'm curious what you think about the 7.1 Black Art. I got a bottle as well, but haven't tried it just yet. Enjoying. Congratulations on 1K subs. Greetings from London. Hey, we were in London. We enjoyed our time in London. Saw lots of sights. Yeah, we really enjoyed our time there. And yeah, I remember your comment saying that you've got the same one. So we'll be cracking into that here. Dan Thompson, having meats and different cheeses for dinner. Do I go for peated whiskey or sherried whiskey? When I think cheese, I often think peated whiskey because, like with Octomore, with as mentioned earlier, Lejeg, I oftentimes can get a cheesy tone, even with Port Charlotte and especially Lockendal's. Lockendal's, I haven't had too many. I think I've had 2 or 3, but I do get a cheesy note on that too. I think it's because they have some wider cuts on the Lockendal's. I'd go for peat and cheese personally. I should be institutionalized. Sugar Kitty. Not at all. Not at all. Peter White. I Last winter, I finished the last of my PC7 from 2008. It was Stellar Pre Octomore. Yeah, and I recently learned from KWM Tasting, Kensington Wine Market in Calgary. Fantastic store, by the way. 100% recommend you buy from them. They've never given me anything for free, so that comes not as a bought promotion, but I couldn't do what I do on this channel without Kensington Wine Market. They are a lifeline completely. I learned on a recent Bruichladdich tasting that the PC releases, they didn't apparently actually, they forgot to put in their malt order at the distillery for those original Port Charlottes. And so the PC ones, I think 6 through 12 or something like that, they weren't actually done with malt from Baird's Maltings, which is my understanding is where they get the peated malt from for Port Charlotte and for Octomore. They actually were able to get some malt from Port Ellen. So my understanding, I haven't had, I don't think I've had a PC in years. I'd love to have one again so I could compare. But my understanding is those PC releases, they were made with Port Ellen malt. So different animal, I'm sure, than the Baird's Maltings beasts. Really interesting. Always get notes of vanilla custard from PC10. Yeah, I could see that for sure. I always get like the vanilla custard reminds me of like it almost has like a bit of a sour note to me sometimes too, and certainly a creaminess. I always get creaminess on Bruichladdich products. Oh, sorry. Let's see here. Silverdale just tried to get light through that bottle. It reveals nothing. Also, PC10 is great. Yeah, I know the Octomore ones. I've tried to check my level on my 9.1 and it's no dice. I've heard you can use a scale and weigh it, but that seems to be a bit crazy. Sugar Kitty. Best of all, would have to have visited Glen Turret in the day to meet Towser. I've heard the stories of Towser. The Guinness Book of World Record holder for most mice caught or something like that, I think. Did apply to be the Mauser at Ardna, but it appeared the jump was taken. Awesome. Almost through the comments. If only KWM had a less pin in the shipping. Yeah, it is a process to get things packed and shipped out of there. It's possible. But I think I'd probably spend even more money if it was a bit easier. But they're doing what they have to keep things above board. KWM, they don't ship officially, so don't want to get them in trouble. But yeah, it would be nice if it was easier to ship from there. PC with Port Ellen maltings would be fantastic to try. I know. Yeah. I recently figured this out, so I'm going to try and get my hands on some PC samples from that era to do a comparison. That's on my list of things to do. And Peter White. I was not aware of that, but I can attest to the quality of that PC7. Okay, yeah, that one's on the list. All right, I got to pour this this Black Art if we're gonna get anywhere, because I'm sure a lot of you go ahead and subscribe to the Ralphie Mitchell method, emitted in the glass for every year in the cask. Well, if I put this in front of the camera, you may see a vintage on there. Vintage 1994 Bruichladdich Black Art, the 7.1. There's a few vintages that use the 94 liquid. This is 25 years old. So we need to give this a little bit of time in the glass before we go ahead. I always rest the whiskeys in my reviews quite a bit before going ahead and nosing them and tasting them. It's an important thing to do. It can be make or break sometimes, I found. Okay, here we go. Bottle is officially, let's see if we can get a bottle pop. I like that. That was good. Hopefully you guys could hear that. Oh, glass. I've got the perfect glass for this job here. I have my Bruichladdich glass I picked up at the distillery. Only Glencairn I purchased in Scotland was a Bruichladdich one. I'm a bit biased, guys. There she is. There's the color. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. I'll try and put white paper behind it. Maybe you can see the color. Beautiful color on that. Beautiful color. I'm not even going to nose it yet. That's getting set aside for safekeeping. Take another sip of this palate cleanser here. Oh my word. Bruichladdich in the morning. I could dig it. I could dig it. I guess it might not be morning anymore. We might be at noon on the west coast here of Canada. Let's take a look. Yeah, we're just shy of rolling them around. All right. Hopefully you guys can see everything fine. All right, I'm gonna bring up the photos again because we got more to talk about with Bruichladdich here. So that the results of the poll that got us to this point with the 7.1. Um, so Bruichladdich, once again, I was in my glory with Bruichladdich visiting distillery. You can see the gates. They really committed to that blue once the distillery was reopened. Famously, it shuttered in 1994. It went silent and it was brought back to life by the likes of Mark Renier and Jim McEwen. It had its renaissance in the year 2000. And Bruichladdich, it looks a lot different than it used to, but they still have a lot of the same equipment in there, a lot of Victorian era whiskey making equipment. The flywheel on the mill is really fun to watch go around. The mash tuns, the louders in there, everything looks Victorian era. It's really fantastic, and it captured my imagination. And as you can see, again, progressive Hebridean distillers, Bruichladdich since 1881, same year as Bunnahabhain. I believe they are technically older than Bunnahabhain, but I could be wrong. But you can see we kind of, myself and Kyla, committed to the theme there with the color of my hat, the color of my shirt, the color of her shirt, and we definitely got called out on that. Um, yeah, so I love Bruichladdich. They've definitely captured my imagination. I mentioned earlier the black arts that were available at the distillery shop, the 6.1, and I can't see it from here. It was the 10.1, I believe, but the prices were just beyond the pale. It was too much. I took a photo for posterity and to have a bit of a guffaw, I think, more than anything. I'm gonna bring up a comment on screen here before it disappears. I'm just getting used to StreamYard, so I'm not sure how to scroll up on the comments. There doesn't seem to be any arrows or anything like that. So I'm gonna grab this before it disappears. Not sure about that, Matt, but probably. I tried the first ones and they were great, but prior to those, they did some amazing PETA releases on Bruichladdich names, such as the Infinity ones. I will keep my eye open for the Infinity. I've subscribed to the method. Sugar Kitty, I subscribed to the method that the bottle must meet the number of dollars in my wallet, no matter the age. Yeah. Words to live by, especially with inflation and the economy being what it is. You're hilarious, Sugar Kitty. You're absolutely you're a delight here. We Karens for we drams for we people. I have so many we Karens now, and they are a lifesaver sometimes when I'm doing comparisons. I usually don't drink from Glencairns, but I like to collect them. Yeah, well, if you visit enough distilleries, you'll have an army of Glencairns before you know it. It's noon. Yeah, it's noon. But if you followed my adventures in Scotland, I think the earliest I drank was 5:30 or 6 a.m. after I hiked up Arthur's Seat for the first time. I cracked open a oh gosh, I think it was a punk IPA from Brew Punk or something, a beer, and I had a Lafroig, I think, at like 9 a.m. hiking Arthur's Seat too when we returned to Edinburgh. So, um, I guess when in Scotland, it's a wonder they didn't open up as blue Claddy. Sugar Kitty again. There's that humor. I like that you match the laddie color with your hat. Yeah, yeah. I have a problem. I love that color. Dan Thompson just popped and poured a dram of 2013 Stoisha from berries and Rudd to go with my dinner. Oh my goodness, peated Buna is delicious. I love it. All right, back to the slideshow here. So yeah, the prices of the black arts were too much. I was not tempted at all, but I found this bottle in my area at the original 2019 pricing, which helps a lot because they're pricey now. The prices on the 9.1s and 10.1s, I think they went up to like $60 Canadian, going towards $800. And they're a lot older. They're like 29-year-old Bruichladdich, 28-year-old Bruichladdich now, the 9.1 and the 10.1. They're going to charge more, but that was just like, I believe it was like a $380 price jump Canadian for the Bruichladdich 8.1 to 9.1. And so I haven't considered buying those. And I just looked at the 7.1 and 8.1 at the old pricing. So some of the specs on the Black Art 7.1. This is Adam Hannett's third crack at the Bruichladdich series. So he did the 5.1 and onward. He actually took a lot of flack for that 5.1. I'd love to try it someday to see if it was such. I mean, I'd love to try all of them. But the 4.1 is quite infamous, being Jim McCune's last Black Art edition. And for that reason, I think a lot of people put that up as the pinnacle of Black Art. And the 5.1 got a rough ride. But I'd like to see if it was really as dastardly as people make it out to be. But this is Adam Hannett, the current distiller at Bruichladdich. This is his third attempt at it. Distilled 1994, so we have a vintage. Released 2019, 25 years old, 48.4% ABV. I believe that is cask strength. Natural color, non-chill filtered, one of 12,000 bottles. So limited, but is 12,000 really that limited? I guess for a popular distillery, yes. And prior to this, I've had the 8.1, which was also 1994 distillate, 26 years old. The 9.1, 1992 distillate, 29 years. And the 10.1, which has no vintage, but at the distillery in the photo I took, I could see they sharpied over where it had a vintage of 1993. So maybe mostly 1993 distillate. I don't know. We'll see. But that one's 29 years old as well. I will say there's not much seemingly in the warehouses I visited left of old stock of Bruichladdich. I saw the oldest casks I saw when I did the warehouse tour and tasting. The oldest casks I saw were 1992, singular 1992, only one of them. 1989 was the oldest I saw with my own eyes. And then after that, it was like 2003. Yeah, so they're running lower and lower. I'm not sure how many more Black Arts we're gonna have. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they got it all squirreled away, tucked away somewhere else. Maybe a different warehouse with a better climate. But the one we visited, not much old stock left, pre-closure stock. What's the deal with the Black Art series? Well, Bruichladdich is infamously known for, again, giving all the information they can, full transparency from where the barley, what farm the barley comes from, like with the Rockside Farm editions. Further on to cask types, all these different French wine casks, fortified wine casks, everything else. They give you all the information. They tell you everything about it, and they don't tamper with the whiskey with chill filtration and coloring it. So they're known for transparency. Black Art is different. The Black Art is a different beast because it is the exact opposite. You have the vintage, you know it's non-chill filtered, it's natural color, you know the ABV, all that, but you have no idea the cask type. You have no idea the barley provenance. You have no clues to inform your tasting notes and to sway you one way or another. You take it at face value, and it is the master blender's own little bit of devilry, his own bit of magic. We talked about witch's magic with the shipping, sinking of the ship earlier. So it's a very bewitching bottle. I think it looks cool. So this is the only Bruichladdich Black Art I own. That's the first one I've ever cracked. Okay, sip of coffee, sip of water. We'll get to the main event here. What you guys might not know about me either is that I'm a big fly fishing fan. So my water glass here has a woolly bugger fly pattern on it. So if you're wondering what's on the glass, it's a fishing fly. Quickly to these comments before they disappear again. Simcoe, I got inspired as well and just poured a dram of Compass Box's Peat Monster at cask strength. Oh, the cask strength Peat Monster. Let me know how that is. I've heard varying things about it. I'm wondering if it's the original cast strength release or if it's the re-release that just happened recently. But I love Compass Box. I love John Glazer, James Saxon. I love what they do there. Probably my favorite Compass Box release is the Flaming Heart series and the 5th edition in particular. Whiskey Mystery just did a comparison of Flaming Heart 5th and 6th editions blind. Check that out if you're looking for information on those. Sugar Kitty, I can get Black Art 8 for $4.99 US and a 9 for $6.99 US. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the price jump that I'm talking about right there. In Canada, we actually have a really decent price local to me for the Black Art 8.1. I can get my hands on that for just a little bit over $400 Canadian, which I think is like 300 or 320 American. You can do the conversion there, but really good price. I probably should be snapping that up, but I do not have funds for that. I already am short on funds enough after Scotland. That pushed us to our limits for sure. Grace Whiskey Guy, most probably great. Dan Thompson, the 2007 8-year-old Bunna in their retro label that is unopened, but tried it, and it was so spectacular at 57%. Had to grab a bottle. Yeah, peated Bunna is making waves. I've got an ex-bourbon, Cadenhead's Bunnahabhain Stoisha. I think it's 7 years old, and it's a banger. I really love it. Peter White, the 5.1 is still very good. Good to hear. I've heard Andrew and I think Kurt at KWM sing the praises of that one, saying they think it's the best one, which flew in the face of everything I was hearing. So that's good to hear from you as well, Peter. Hey, Dick Light. Hey, welcome here. I believe you're in Germany, if I remember correctly. Servus, wie geht's? Welcome here. I lived in Germany briefly, so sometimes I remember some of my terrible German. Mein Deutsch ist schlecht, but it is there. Dan Thompson at Greg's Whiskey Guide. Never tried the Bunna until I was at the distillery. Very impressed. I'm surprised more people aren't shouting out about peated Bunnahabhain. I think we're going to see a renaissance in interest in that. The Moina releases, especially the ones in like wine casks, are super popular, super sought after. I think we're going to see a good run on indie peated Bunnahabhain in Stoisha and Moina form very soon. The Cadenheads bottlings, actually, to return to that real quickly, the Cadenheads bottlings of that oftentimes don't actually specify whether or not it's peated or unpeated Bunnahabhain. So be careful with that. Mine didn't, but I saw from the tasting notes on it that it had traits of like dock tar, rope, sea spray, smoke. So I knew what I was in for. Silverdale agreed. Grew to love the Toitic Aga. Probably saying that wrong, but that's how the sales rep here told me to say it. After shrugging it off at first. Yeah, I had a similar story with that. I kind of had a glass, thought it was really fantastic. Had a second glass and went, oh, actually, this is just okay. The Forerunner to that one is, I believe, this bottle right here. This is batch 3 of the Bunnahabhain. I think how you say it is. Sorry, line it up. Cabonic. I really enjoyed this one. And because I have this bottle and I'm not through it yet, you can kind of see the level there. I haven't gone ahead and picked up the Toitic Aga, but I have enjoyed this one and I will go ahead and do so. All right. Almost through the comments. Agreed. Greg, on my side, I tried an unreleased version of the Peat Monster Cask Strength sample, and it was great. I would believe that. I have all the trust in the world in Compass Box. Great German. And yes, you're from Berlin. Okay. I enjoyed my time in Berlin. I spent my time in the Bodensee, in Baden-Württemberg. But I did visit Berlin. I enjoyed it greatly. Well, welcome here. Sorry, Matt, on my side, I'd prefer no wine cask, but rather bourbon cask mainly. Yeah, I know. It seems like the red wine casks are more popular and higher in price because there's a lot of people that seem to prefer them. But I'm with you. When I went to the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, I went and visited the vaults in Leith. Every single dram I ordered was ex-bourbon or refill bourbon. Because I just have more faith in those, especially from the SMWS. I feel like Um, Oftentimes things are recast into finishes because they're lacking something, as opposed to trying to add something. So I have all the faith in the world in bourbon casks, but I dabble in wine casks because I'm curious. Finally, Sugar Kitty for a Canadian. Imagine a tiny hockey collision. Toe check. It's not hockey season. It is football season for us here, and football I mean soccer. Tonight, my Vancouver Whitecaps are playing the LA Galaxy at BC Place, so we may whip down there for the match. Hockey is a distant thought right now, but the season approaches. They always said as I was growing up, there's two seasons in Canada. There's hockey season and there's waiting for hockey season. So we're in waiting for hockey season, which again, it was 33 degrees yesterday. I don't think I'll want to watch hockey when it's 33 degrees. All right. Nosing the Black Art 7.1. Hmm. Oh, wow. Okay. So we were just speaking about wine casks. There's a lot of wine cask influence on this for sure. Because I can pick up those sort of sweet and sour notes there that I attribute to them. But the first thing that hit me was was the oak. It's not over oaked, probably because it was probably sitting in refill bourbon to start. And so that probably helps with the age of this and not putting too much wood into it. Um, nice oaking level here. A bit of like a distant steeped tea sort of note. And some spice like ginger and lemon citrus. Oh man. But it's nutty. It's nutty too. Um, Almond and I mean, I had a lot of Haselnuss hazelnut Rittersport in Germany, so I'm picking up a bit of like hazelnut. I love hazelnut. A lot of sweet tones. There's some tropical fruits in there from the what I'm guessing are bourbon casks. Again, nobody knows what casks these are other than Adam Hannett, so can't tell me I'm wrong on that. I'm wrong about some things. Probably I'm wrong about a lot of things, but that I'm pretty certain of. Yeah, some tropicals in there, like that, like apricot, like dried apricot fruit, and like a fruit leather note too. I've mentioned that before in Canada. Like when I was in grade school, you get these fruit leathers that you could open and eat, and it's like a dried compressed fruit, and so I'm getting that. Yeah, it's a you can tell there's age on this because it's a fairly like there's a lot in there, but it's not one thing is overriding everything else, which to me is saying that it's nicely they did a nice job picking casks and vatting them together here because no one thing is overshadowing the rest. I see out of the corner of my eye sweet pipe tobacco as well. Yeah. Yeah, I there's tobacco on there. My frame of reference for tobacco is more like cigars, Cuban cigars. I dabbled in those in the past, just in celebratory fashion. No more than I think the most I ever had was three in a year. I had one last summer, and I would compare it to yeah some cigar smoke, not smoke, sorry. The sweetness you get off of a long drag on a cigar. Yeah, really nice nose. Um, I'm searching for the creamy note that I usually get from Bruichladdich, or even like a lactic note. Going back to the classic laddie for a moment, reset my nose here. Oh man, that's all cream vanilla, butter butterscotch pudding a bit. toffee, some citrus, some florals too on that laddie. Going back here. I think I can pick up a bit of the cream there, but the oak is definitely stealing the show a bit from the distillate here. Catching a comment before it disappears here as well. NHL fans just plan their trades and who is going to get the call up and who is going to suffer in the minors. Yeah, we got an AHL team here in the Fraser Valley, the Abbotsford Canucks. I was a season ticket holder for them in their first year, their inaugural year. And yeah, you can toil in the minors for quite a bit, but there's some good players that come out of there. Dick Light, wine casts are interesting, but kind of hit or miss. I agree completely, depending on the bottler, etc. But a good limousine oak wine cask is magic. Personally, very much enjoy them. Interesting. I don't know if I've had that cask type. If I'm remembering correctly, Ardent American's original washbacks were made with that type of wood, and they've had to go about, I think, replacing them because they just weren't durable enough. But those early batches of Ardent American, I think, were made in limousine oak washbacks. Very interesting. Sweet. There's the sweet pipe tobacco. I saw the corner of my nose, corner of my eye. Sorry. Stephen Top. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go Whitecaps too, Stephen. Let's go Whitecaps. Hazelnuts. Nutella. We got European Nutella back in the house here. Kyla made sure to bring back European Nutella with her. Yeah, it's different than what we get here. Greg, I've learned to enjoy some of them. Yeah, I even worked on a whiskey with wine casks only, no other choice, and it can be sometimes very good indeed. For me, they're not winey and just fruity. Yeah, again, really careful. I'm hearing that they're rinsing a lot of the wine casks now instead of having wet wine casks being filled with distillate. So maybe they're taking a bit more care. A lot of STR out there too for the younger whiskeys, the younger distilleries are really leaning into that STR cask. um STR cask way that Jim Swan set up at so many distilleries. So also getting a mild mint on the nose. Are you dramming along? You've got the 7.1 crack too? Yeah, there's a mint, like a spearmint or even like a eucalyptus note in there. It also kind of reminds me, this is a nosy note Kyla gave me the other night because sometimes I ask for her opinion. She said like a Finnish sauna. We went to a Finnish sauna and they were using like eucalyptus. So you had cedar and eucalyptus in there. And yeah, I could pick up on that as well. Sugar Kitty got the first Ardent American 2 weeks ago. Quite the enjoyable ride. Yeah, I've got 2 bottles of Ardent American, the 8001 2101 and the first cast strength bottling. Enjoying them, and I'm thinking about picking up the Madeira. The Madeira is still available here in Canada and Alberta. So yeah, money. Money. I gotta be careful. I get myself into trouble. Scotch Down Under just tried it on Wednesday. Okay. Finishing up here. Greg's whiskey guide, yeah, def. Often it's just red fruity, but sometimes can have distinct red wine influence. Also depends on where they're from, where they get wine casks. Yeah, no, it's so dependent. That's why if I had any advice with wine cask whiskeys, it's to try before you buy as much as you can, because you don't know how they've gone about selecting those casks, how careful they've been, unless you have full confidence in a bottler. Like I have full confidence in Gordon and MacPhail at this point. And so for that reason, when I was purchasing something like this Lejeune from Hermitage with 3 years in Hermitage red wine casks, I was confident that it would still be good. So yeah. All right. Yeah, leather and pipe tobacco is there for sure. Still getting that like ginger spice in the background too. I could nose this for hours. This is a great nose already. Freshly cracked. I can't wait for the bottle to open up a bit. Oh man. Okay. Here goes the sip. Oh man, there's a lot going on there. Honey and sweets off the top. Again, a bit of that ginger spice now as I'm transitioning into a finish with there's some cracked pepper there too. Finish is all leather and tobacco right now. A bit of there was a touch of acidity on the palate with those wine casks. But right now for the finish for me, again, it's that steep black tea note. Um, Paired up with the citrus, maybe something more along the lines of like the tail end of a really good like pico. Mm. Oh, oh yeah. Okay. It's gonna take some time to process this one. Um Pull this up so it wouldn't disappear on me. Just got up Kiwi Gore. Maybe in New Zealand, perhaps, with a name like that. Sunday morning here. Big fan of your channel. Congratulations on the 1,000. Cheers. Thank you so much for that well wish, and thank you for joining on the live stream. New Zealand checking in. The Kiwis are here. Sugar Kitty wine cask is so tough because it can easily be taken over the whiskey. I tried the Tame Blair Athol, finished in Israeli flam wine. Okay, that is unique. Just too much from the barrel that the origin spirit is lost. Yeah, that's what we don't want to have happen. We want to still be able to see the distillate character. Follow up from Kiwi Gore. We're lucky in New Zealand. Good Arna availability. It really is a distinct character. Love it. Yeah, we've got no. We're behind the times in Canada for getting on the Art American hype train. I'm trying to hype people up on it with its just lovely coastal mineralic distillate signature, and people are globbing on, but it's slow uptake. So we're both lucky, Canada and New Zealand, that people aren't going too fast on it. One of the most promising distilleries among the new ones. I agree with you, Greg. Distillate wise, Evolution Distillery also depends on their ability to get the best of their casks and balance. Yeah, we'll see what they make of the casks. I know Adelphi is really renowned for their sherry casks. Their sherry cask independent bottlings are really popular and have good reputations. With that backing of the independent bottler behind Ardent American, I'm confident that their cask management policy is probably going to be pretty good. Stephen Toast, BC Liquor had the 8.1 for 375, and now the 9.1 or 700 plus. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The jump was just too extreme. It definitely soured me to the notion of picking up a 9.1. But again, we did go from, I believe, what did I say, 26 years to 29 years. It's still 3 years and a $300+ increase. Not commiserate with what I'm seeing there. So whiskey on the West Coast worth the wait and price. Yeah, I think you're gonna have to wait on the answer for that here, Greg. I gotta take a few more sips before I can weigh in on that. Um, Back to that note, I will, once I drink this bottle down, do a proper review of it, so you guys can follow up on that. These are definitely first impressions. This is our live first impression session. So yeah, noting that 10.1 is 500 euros. Okay, that's actually a more reasonable price. That's not too bad. It's probably about 600 and a bit Canadian. Also, my math's not a strong suit, so don't hold me to that off the cuff conversion estimate. Sugar Kitty, it's the story of the whiskey industry, cask management. Nothing happens until 10 or 20 years later. Tough to deal with it. Yeah, you really have to have as a distillery manager, you really have to have your eyes to the future. And I mean, any lack of foresight, and you're paying for it for years. So yeah, I hear that. All right, another sip here. Oh man, I'm really digging the nose. The nose is great right now. Mm. I'm gonna repeat some of the things that were on the nose that have carried over to the palate, and it's really cool to see that they've carried over, because I think obviously they would have considered that quite a lot, but a lot of tropical fruit, some orange, some oak, the leather, the nuttiness. There's a little touch of nuttiness, the ginger, definitely spice, honey and sweets. The actual body on this isn't particularly, it's not particularly oily. It's not super viscous. So probably the body is probably the most disappointing part so far. But I'm gonna have to say that that's not surprising for something with this age. It can be a bit delicate. If I was to describe the body, it might be a bit fragile. I'm not sure how this will respond to water. I'm a little scared to put water on it right now. Probably do it for science, but yeah. Oh my word. Oh man. Okay, Rob, whiskey in the six, checking in here. And oh, dude, thank you so much. Congratulations, buddy. With the super chat. That's super generous, Rob. Thank you. I you might have missed it earlier. I threw a shout out for just the support you gave me early on in the channel, the encouragement in the comments, posting my channel on your community board. I appreciate it. I mean, I mentioned earlier that all of us who are in this whiskey community, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, whether it's Ralphie Mitchell or um, Roy Duff or others. And I mentioned your channel because I learned a lot from watching your channel. I still learn a lot. You're kind of the OG, one of the OGs here in Canada, along with like Whiskey Whistle and others. And yeah, no, means a lot to me. The congratulations, and again, really far too kind, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for checking in. Oh man. And loving the whiskey rants. If you guys haven't checked out the whiskey rant that Rob does with Jeremy from Sipper Social Club, another great channel. It's wild. It's fantastic. It's hilarious and a lot of good whiskey content and exactly the type of banter and no nonsense talk on whiskey that we need to see more of. I never miss a whiskey rant. It's yeah, it's always on my radar. And as I'm a Patreon of Sipper Social Club right now, I get a an early look at that, so that's always appreciated. Four Leaf Whiskey, cheers, congratulations on the 1K. Thank you so much, Four Leaf. Four Leaf has a wonderful whiskey YouTube channel that goes ahead and reviews Irish whiskey primarily, and yeah, just such a great source of knowledge for Irish whiskey. Thank you for the congratulations, Four Leaf. I'm also check out Greg's channel when you get a chance. Greg's Whiskey. I know I mentioned it earlier, but Greg's been doing this, or again, I mean, you can put how long you've been doing this, Greg, into the comments, but like you've got a couple decades on me at the very least of whiskey blogging, whiskey, everything. So yeah, check that out. Whiskey in the Six. Yeah, no, thank you once again, man. You guys are all talking together. I love seeing that. Got inspired a bit, just dove into the Octomore 10.2 sample. It's delicious jam. And I know there's a lot of criticism for the age on Octomores and the prices, but I am, yeah, I'm, it's a guilty pleasure. I love my Octomore. Octomore 10.2. Glad it's good. Dude, what's the, I'm guessing it's a wine cast finish being a 0.2. What's the maturation, cast maturation on that there, Merrick? Four leaf. Yeah, there's another meow. John at Just Whiskey. Cheers, Matt. Another channel I mentioned that's been a big support to me. John, welcome here, man. Glad to see you on the live. Great whiskey channel, and yeah, you've thrown a lot of support my way. Most recently in your review of the Nika Yoichi, which I love as a Japanese whiskey, probably my favorite Japanese whiskey. Guys, check out John's thoughts on that Nika Yoichi. Thanks, brother. Yeah, no, seriously. No thanks needed there, Rob. You're OG there, but oh man, this is fun. I'm enjoying this, guys. I hope it's fun for you guys too. If you want more lives in the future, please do let me know. Where's a mod to post the links? Yeah, I guess the bigger things to come. We'll have to have a mod outside of myself for next time. Again, if you guys want more lives, Whiskey in the Six was one of the first channels I subbed to. Great channel. Yeah, 100%. I think I discovered Whiskey in the Six just before I discovered Sipper Social Club. Two great channels. Yeah, Matt, you need some mods. Okay. All right, need some mods. We'll get on that for the next one. Love your 10 point, love the 10.4, 3 years old and virgin oak. Great stuff. I tried my first virgin oak Octomore at the distillery, the 13.4. I brought back a sample to be able to try and bring you guys some thoughts on that soon. Yeah, the nose on this Black Art 7.1. It's fantastic. I've never been disappointed by a nose on a black art. I will say that. The 8.1, I'm not necessarily sold on the palette. I've had the 8.1 three times now, and I've always found the palette like enjoyable, but a bit thin. Mm, mm. Yeah, leather, pipe tobacco, that like sherry leather, if you know what I mean. The type of leather that you get off that. The spice in there. Everything's just so nicely in balance here. You've got some mango or papaya for tropical fruits in the front. You've got the sherry and wine cask influences with a touch of acidity, but not in a bad way. And then the fruits from that, like berries, definitely berries, and then the sherry sort of leathery, even like maybe raisins, but not in like a sherry bomb sort of way. Pipe tobacco, sort of that like nice old, old sort of feeling there. Ginger spice to bring some spice elements to this. So you got those earthy tones from the tobacco and leathers. You got the fruit. You've got the spice, and the finish right now. It's really lovely, really great. I'm a big fan of the nose and the finish on this. I'm trying to decide on the palate. Um, yeah, this is great. Okay, while I'm ruminating on that, let's go back to the photos here because I want to talk about some more Bruichladdich news. You guys may have seen on Reddit that um, if you're not familiar, the TTB is a board where distilleries they have to go ahead and they have to get their labels approved before they can import into the United States, which means they're usually public knowledge, which means that we get some previews of what's coming out far before it is out. And so we got this with the coming Octomore releases. Octomore releases in usually in the fall. October is when we get it in BC. Actually, we get in November with the premium spirits launch, but they start to seem to be released in October 20 in October. It's a fall thing, and there's some Octomore bottlings that are set up at the distillery shop. Just had to take a picture of that. But that means that we have the distillery labels and the information for the coming Octomores for October 2023. And so, some spoilers if you guys don't want to know, but what we have coming out this October, and it hasn't been announced by the distillery yet. And the ABVs, I understand, can change from when this labels were submitted to now. But this is the first one, the 14.1, 5 years old, 59.6% alcohol. It's 128.9 ppm, and it's an ex bourbon cask, concerto barley. So that is the traditional. That is the straight up. That is the what we're used to for Octomore point ones. A little bit low on the ppms compared to some in the past. Not for sure, not the lowest, but yeah, 129, 128.9 phenol parts per million. Um, and anyone who has experience with Octomore knows that that number is big, but that is measured pre-distillation. That is on the grain, not in the distillate. And so it's a bit of a misconception, but it is still heavily, very heavily peated. So getting more interesting here. The 14.2 coming out this fall is, again, 5 years old. It is 57.7%. Same phenols because they pull it's the same, basically the same batch of grain, same malt. So it is same 128.9 ppm, and it is Oloroso cask, and it says PAC, which to my understanding is a Bordeaux red wine cask, Polyac, I believe, and a third cask type in this point too, which is AMC, which I believe is Amarone, an Italian wine. I could be butchering the pronunciation. Rob had a few reviews of Amarone finishes, I think, or maybe that was the Hazelburn Barolo. Anything Italian, I'm going to steer you towards Rob's channel, Whiskey in the Six. But really interesting cask finishes on that. On the point two, I would definitely try to try that before I buy it. But again, the prices on these Octomores are getting a little bit out there, so I'm not sure if I will be picking any of these ones up. And then a big change. You'll notice there's a big change in the look here. Um, there, this big old blue label, very colorful for Octomore. We've seen clear bottles on 0.3s. We've seen white tins, silver tins, black, all that. We've never seen something like this on them. So again, they're going through some changes in their design choices with that new Laddie bottle and these new labels for the Octomore. Not that that impacts what's in the bottle. What's in the bottle counts the most. But the 0.3, this is the Islay Barley release. This is one of my favorites. I'm a big supporter of Islay Barley. 5 years old, 61.4% alcohol, 214.2 phenol parts. Again, different malt batch, so it's going to have a different ppm rating than the other two. So it's heavier peated, at least pre-distillation. And the cask types on this are a little bit of a mystery to me. Again, this is a traditional 0.3 in that it's Islay Barley, but it's ex-bourbon and then FOC. I've never heard of an FOC cask. I tried to do some Googling, tried to figure it out, and I don't actually know what an FOC cask is. So if anybody knows or has any guesses, throw those into the comments because I am uncertain. Taking a quick pause here to catch up on the comments. Sugar Kitty, it's not an if there's a next live, it's when there's a next one. Thank you so much, Sugar Kitty. I appreciate the support. Silverdale, cheers to the host of the day, Bruichladdich, for the win. Yeah, very Bruichladdich theme here, but you guys voted for it, so I steered into it. Silverdale, great point with the orange Pico. Can't get away from that now. Yeah. I often get T notes on older aged whiskeys, and I could not get away from the orange plus the T. So orange Pico. Glad you're picking that up too. Lets me know I'm on the right track. Daylight. What personally annoys me with the Octomores is the black and the Black Art is that you can't see your fill level / whiskey. And the 0.3 is the only one where you can see it, but it's also the most expensive. Yeah, I've got here. Oh boy, I've got the ends of an Octomore here. I'll change the look on this a bit so you can see a bit more. I've got my Octomore 9.1 here. One of the last ones I paid a decent price for. I think it was like $160 or something Canadian. So a decent price in Octomore. And this, I have no idea how much is left in this bottle. I suppose I could weigh it. I've tried to shine a flashlight and I've got giant mag lights, like really high powered flashlights. Like I'm not lacking on flashlight power, but I do not know how much is in here. So I'm being a little precious with it because I don't know how much is left. I haven't reviewed it yet. Figured it might be good for a side-by-side. If you guys have ideas for what I should do with this 9.1 for a video, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I don't know. It is a frustration with the Octomore bottles. Definitely. All right, Sugar Kitty is very blue. How would I pronounce that word? Blue again. Shaking the bottle under a light to see what's left is a pain in the ass. Yeah, I agree, Peter. French oak cask. Ooh, hey, Silverdale, I think you might have it. FOC could be French oak cask. I wonder if it's virgin French oak then. Because the PAC would be French wine, I would think. I think most wineries in France would use French oak. That one being in Bordeaux, but maybe this is more just specifically, maybe it's virgin French oak. That would be cool. Good catch on that. Well done. I recently bought at auction a bottle of the Octomore 2011 9-year-old single cask Valanche 0.1. That's a bottle. Oh man, I wonder what you. I mean, I'm a little scared to ask what you paid for that at auction. Wow, Simcoe. That's a fascinating bottle. I love the Valanche bottles, by the way, from Bruichladdich. If you saw my video detailing what I brought back from Scotland, Valanche bottlings like Rockin' Doll here, the 18-year-old port pipe, that bottle right there. I picked up a Valanche, Port Charlotte Rioja cask. Yeah, I love the Valanche system they have there, and the fair prices on the Valanches at the distillery. Yeah, great stuff. Sugar Kitty, could it be OLC instead of FLC? Well, we had OLC in the 14.2, which was the Oloroso cask. Um, the 14.3, it definitely says FOC. Um, yeah, so I'm not sure where FLC is, unless I'm mistaken. Again, could very well be mistaken. I'm pretty sure it says FOC. So I'm on board with Silverdale's suggestion of French oak casks. Bluick. Bluick. All right. All right. Thank you for the help with the pronunciation. FDC often stands for Fernando de Castilla Oloroso Sherry Cask. Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe I'm reading an O. Maybe I'm reading a D as an O. So it could be FDC. I love the speculation. Okay. I know some German whiskey forums picked up on these labels pretty quickly last year, and they picked up on some more labels I'm going to talk about in a moment pretty quickly as well. FDC often stands, yeah, but often stands for sherry, but they also make brandy. Okay, good to know. And Simcoe, you paid 260 pounds for that rare Octomore Valanche. Wow, I mean, I'm really curious about that one though. That's a commitment, but I'm sure it's gonna be well worth it. FOC, yeah. I mean, I could be reading it incorrectly. If you find the pictures online, take a closer look later. Um, yeah, let me know if you think it's FDC or FOC. I read it as FOC. So back to the slideshow here. I'll change the look again. So we got the 14s that are coming out this October. I'm excited to hear about them when they're released. Hopefully, we hear good things this week because the TTB needs a label. So far in the future, we got a preview of the Octomore releases for October 2024. Yeah, more than a year out in advance. So sorry, Bruichladdich, about spilling the beans, but it's on the internet. It's free information now. I don't think I'm hurting anybody with it. I think I do enough free advertising for your guys' products in this stream alone that I'm sure you won't mind. So the 15.1, again, classic 0.1, 5 years old, 59.1%, 108.2 ppm, and ex bourbon. So again, lower on the phenols, which not a big deal, honestly. Ex bourbon, classic 0.1. Quickly moving on to the 0.2, 5 years old, 57.9%, same phenols, 108.2. Ex bourbon and CC, which I know to be cognac casks. And the really interesting one here, as our last label for the day, is the 15.3. So again, this Bluick label, 5 years old, 61.3%, a massive 307.2 ppm. This is I don't think that's the highest that Bruichladdich gone. I think there's been 308, maybe 356 or something. It has been higher. But ex bourbon and OLC, so Oloroso cask, 100% barley. That one already has me interested. That has piqued my interest. Out of these six, if I had to shell out the big bucks and the dollars to go ahead and buy one of these, it's probably going to be it would probably be the 15.3, which means I have to wait till probably in my market November of 2024. We're talking long ways out here, so a little bit silly, but that's some Bruichladdich news that I'm definitely just interested to bring you guys here. Let's see here. Let's put it on something a little more pretty here for the labels. We've talked about the labels. Yeah, let's leave it on some Bruichladdich pictures or something. FOC either way would be a new type. Yeah, I haven't seen a Bruichladdich FOC cask in my whiskey-based sleuthings. So yeah, I think you're right there, Sugar Kitty, that it would be a new cask type. Simcoe, yeah, not cheap. Gonna keep that for around birthday. Yeah, yeah. I mean, oh, I've talked about it before with the our apartment building burning down last year. and for weeks we thought like everything was gone. So like there was a bit of a twinge in me. I was like, oh man, I had some beauty bottles in that building that I will never taste because I hadn't cracked them. So I'm a big proponent in cracking your bottles, trying them. You can't take your whiskey with you when you're dead and gone. Um, you can be left for your family and friends. I'm sure if it's a big enough collection for them to go ahead and send to auction, but who knows if they even know what to do with that. Best to open the bottles that you've got. But I am also a big proponent of having things to look forward to, having things to meet certain moments, as you can probably tell with me waiting to crack this Bruichladdich 7.1 for the 1,000 subs. So, balance. Everything in life is balance, including drinking. Drink in moderation, guys. Drink responsibly. Take care of yourselves. I want you around here on this big blue marble floating through space a long time. So please take care of yourselves. Everything in moderation, but yeah, balance is key in life. And so balance opening these big bottles with looking forward to them though. Saw it on the screen just then when you highlighted it. Definitely FOC, not FDC here. I can bring it back. So yeah, FOC. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, we'll take another look at that one because that one was yeah, a new cast type. So that's actually exciting too. 14.2 cast type. Wait, it was the point 0.3, wasn't it? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, bright background, bourbon slash FOC is what I'm reading. Yeah. Sugar Kitty, I need to trade Mark Bluick. I need to trademark Bluick now. You heard it here first. Yeah, yeah, get the trademark on that. Because if not, Bruichladdich going to steal it for themselves. Silverdale, you know you're gonna pay out a bit extra for that Bluick bottle. CC sounds more interesting to me. Okay. Yeah, I know. I mean, oh man, the 12s. I think you can still get the 12s and 13s in Alberta, Canada, um, even now, and some of them on sale. So it really depends what the market does this year with the new packaging. I think they're going to be hot and heavy for the 14.3 here. And maybe next year, if I'm targeting the 15.3 as a purchase, maybe they will be not so keen on it. Who knows? But it's going to be expensive either way. Everything in moderation, including moderation. Yes. Yes, exactly. You got to let loose and have fun. Then I'd also put my bet on French oak casks. Yeah. No, I think we got a little bit of consensus here. Okay. All right. Returning to another sip of the Black Art, and we'll move on. And we'll move towards just talking about what the channel has in store for the near future here. Just a few notes on that, and we'll continue on with our Saturdays or Sundays if you're in New Zealand. Kiwi Gore. Mm. Mhm. Oh, wow. Yeah. That palette is right up my street, right up my alley. I have had some single casks of Bruichladdich in like Tempranillo, red wine, port, sherry, rioja, reef salt. I've had all sorts of cask types. I'm sure a lot of you have because Bruichladdich, and when in the rebirth and the resurrection, with Mark Renier's wine background, played around a lot with wine casks. And so I've tried a lot, but the balancing act in this, that's the word, that the key word for me right now is balance. Everything is in harmony with this palette right now. Um, I don't think I would have wanted it any lower in ABV. I think they caught this at the right time, or they blended it up to this strength at the right time. The next release, the 8.1 is 55.1%. Same vintage, released only a year or a bit after. This one here is at 48.4. So it's more than 3% lower. And maybe that's where the 8.1 hasn't impressed me. Maybe it was just bottled at 3% lower, and it just didn't elevate the palate to the levels of the nose, because I still enjoy the nose on that. I'm happy to give the 8.1 another shot here though, and maybe side by side it with this 7.1. But the palette here, I'm digging it. I'm really loving it. Yeah. Um, I think it's living up to the moment. We were talking about bottles for moments. This bottle was the right bottle for this moment. I'm so happy you guys voted for this bottle to be opened. Mm, yeah. In my experience with the 8.1 versus 7.1, I've had the 8.1 twice. Um, about a month ago, I had it for the second time. This is my first time having the 7.1. Fresh crack, all that. Hasn't had oxygen to help open it up or anything yet. 7.1 is ahead of the game. Um, yeah, I'm really happy having this bottle. I would suggest this one out of the four now black arts that I've had. I'm going to be biased, obviously, because I have a bottle of this, so I'm happy with it. So I mean, temper my enthusiasm a bit with that, but the 7.1, it's a stouter, it's a gooder. Let's see here. Hey, Jazz and Real Hip Hop. That's a familiar name. Just found an Octomore 8.1 for 170 US sitting on a shelf. Never had the black art. Did you pick up that Octomore 8.1? 170 for the 8.1s, I think in Alberta, Canada. They were going for ridiculously low prices when they were released, like $135 a bottle Canadian. So about 100 US, I think. Um, those days are well and truly behind us. But what I will say is 170 US for an eight. That's quite a few series behind. Yeah, it's probably worth swiping, worth picking that up. I think I would be tempted to pick that up if I was in your shoes. So let me know if you picked that one. Nope. Tim Locks. Hey, another familiar name. Greetings. Is there an Islay distillery that surprised you during your visit? Perhaps overlooked or underestimated prior to a warehouse tasting? Great question. This actually is a great segue into what we have planned for the future here in the next bit for like coming videos, what's ahead for the channel. But to answer your question directly, oh man, I'm excited for Ardnaho. We very we visited Ardnaho and they didn't have any whiskey obviously yet. They haven't released it. Um I'm hearing for those who are interested, Holyrood in Edinburgh, I'm hearing this fall, October for their first whiskey, and I'm hearing next summer for Ardnaho's first whiskey. But they're the only Islay distillery that has worm tubs. So I'm really excited for that. But for visiting a distillery, oh man, oh, you've got me here. I think Bowmore gets demonized because of the quality of their official bottlings, the select or not select, that's Lefroy, but like the number one, the 12, the 15, the 18, all bottled at 43%, all probably colored and chill filtered, and the high prices. But I have to say that the tour at Bowmore, and specifically the Vaults Warehouse tour and tasting, um, was spectacular. I had this theory that the where they keep the good Bowmore is in the Bowmore vaults, and I was right. I'm just gonna say I was right because um, it was phenomenal. The cast they pulled out, a 2001, a 2003, and a 1999, they all had their merits. And the ex bourbon cask and the Oloroso cask from 2003 and 2001, ugh, they're splendid. If you don't like Bowmore, obviously you might not feel the same, but cast strength Bowmore is it's pretty damn good. And so I was impressed by them, but I was impressed by Bunnahabhain. I was impressed by Bruichladdich. I was a little bit underwhelmed by the warehouse tasting at Lefroy, and I can tell you guys about that. But mainly that was to do with the fact that um, they're pulling 6 or 7 year old casks, whereas again Bowmore pulled everything was over 20 years old. And there's the same parent company, Beam Suntory. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. Um, but also Lafroig, young Lafroig is going to be punchy. If you're wanting that like peat punch in your face, young Lafroig is going to give that to you. I was hoping for Lafroig in around the age of like 13 years old, 10 to 13. After John Campbell, who's the former distiller at Lafroig, after he mentioned on Aquavite's VPub that he sees the salty maritime coastal characteristics of Lafroig appear at 6 years old, and then it kind of fades away at 13 years old. I was hoping to see that in the casks, and I got 6 to 7 year old casks, which meant I couldn't really test that because it would just be on the earliest cusp of that. Jazz and Real Hip Hop. Yeah, I grabbed it just because all the other Octomores in my area are $200 plus. It's my first. Okay. So that was the 8.2, if I remember correctly. So that's gonna again be a wine cask finish, most likely. So yeah, interested to hear about that. I never had the 8.2. But I think that yeah, that's a good pick, especially if your prices are that much higher for the more recent releases. Well done. Well done. Sugar Kitty. For me, the problem with Bowmore is it's got the tang on it, that metallic tin taste. Yeah, I could see that. I just find it so different from all the other Isla peated distillates too. It's a little bit lower in phenols, and so I think that lets other aspects, other characters of the distillate shine through. So I think that's one of the things that appeals to me with Bowmore. But then again, I love 80s Bowmore too, 1980s Bowmore with that really divisive Isla violets, like Parma violets, almost like floral to the point of sometimes soapy. And soapy is a fault. Don't get me wrong, but Bowmore soap, I'm not sure if it is, but yeah, very divisive. Bowmore all around. But yeah, I have plans to do a full Isla tour breakdown on distillery visits. And I'm going to do probably a tips video too, an Isla tips video for first time visitors, just my observations, tips I would give somebody who's planning a trip to Isla in the future and wants to know what I enjoyed and what I would suggest. So that's in the works here. That's one of the things we're going to talk about what's ahead. Jazz and Real Hip Hop. Got about 30 bottles open currently. I want to finish off a few before. Yeah, I get that. I've got too many bottles open, as you can tell on my back shelf here too. I'm always curious to open up new bottles, but obviously, if everything's open, it becomes a problem. But good problem to have. Peter White, Bowmore really jumped the shark when they discontinued releases like Lamrig, Devil's Cask, and Tempest, which were all quality releases. Yeah. I mean, they had it, and then they lost it. Hopefully, we have more. There's a few Bowmore releases, official bottlings I want to try, like the number one Vault Atlantic Sea Salt that Roy's been a big fan of. He gets it at a much better price than we do here in Canada. I think he's getting it for like 80 € or something out of Germany or Holland, and we have that around 175 to $200 Canadian here. I'd love to try that though. So yeah, they really shouldn't have done away with those releases. Those releases are hot commodities on secondary. They go for good prices for a reason, because they were much loved. Sugar Kitty, tour or not, Killoman has become a real big favorite for me. The 2022 100% Isla is just wondrous. Yes, my favorite release every year from Killoman is the 100% Isla. I will bang the drum and support that release till the cows come home. The Highland Coos, if you will. That's my favorite release from Killoman. I not only. I'll wait to speak into the mic. Sorry, guys. I not only enjoy the 100% Isla editions. This is the 10th edition here. Again, just a stunner. Really interesting. 20 phenol, 20 ppm instead of I believe most of their stuff is 50. Like if you're looking at the Macier Bay or Sanig. But I also started targeting 100% Isla single cask like this one here. It's only 5 years old in a Pedro Jimenez cask. This was bottled for a shop in Alberta. It's 20 ppm again, but I really love I love Killoman's Isla Barley releases, and it was a great visit. Visit Killoman. We didn't have enough time there. We had to sandwich it in between our Bruichladdich tasting and our not tasting tour, and our Bruichladdich warehouse tasting. And for that reason, we got rushed. And I should have planned it a bit better, but that just happens. But they have a wonderful distillery visitor center, a great cafe. For those of you who have whiskey lovers that, well, not whiskey lovers, partners who might not be drinking whiskey, the cafe is a lifesaver. It's a great space. It's a beautiful space too. Lots of stuff you can try at the bar there, including the distillery exclusives. Um, yeah, I was really impressed with Coloman, and of course, you get to see a active and in use malting floor if you go on the tour, which I appreciated. I saw a few of them, but there's only I think 7 or 8 at distilleries actively being used, so that's well worth it. So they're doing a fantastic job. 80s Bowmore is an entirely different story. That's a long time ago for Scotch these days. It is, and there was some parcels of 80s Bowmore that were released at really reasonable prices. Of parcels that were sold to independent bottlers. I've got a bottle of the Isle of Violets release from Elixir's Distillers. It's 33 years old, and it was really reasonably priced. I'm saving a bottle crack of that for a special day, but I tried some bottlings from that same parcel, the Pete's Beast 34-year-old. And it's a cognac cask is what it's coming out of, so it's very different. But it definitely has that like 80s Bowmore floral element, which I love, and you won't be able to get for too much longer. They moved away from that, and it's just so expensive, and it's going to be, I think, out of most of our price ranges very shortly. Pick up anything interesting at the recent Spirit release. So Dale, for those who don't know, in British Columbia, we have 2 main times when we have whiskeys released en masse in BC, and one is the summer spirits release, and one is the fall spirits release. Last year, I lined up in a windstorm. We lost power at my house. I went early to line up at the store, and I was in line in the cold, Canadian cold, for oh gosh, too long. I think I got there at like 11 o'clock the previous night, and the store opened at 10 a.m. So those are releases. To answer your question, Silverdale, I got I was in Scotland when it happened, so I wasn't here for the release. So I'm just picking at scraps. I'm still trying to hunt a bottle down. I'm trying to get that Shelter Point 10-year-old. That would be the bottle I would be picking up of what's left out there if I can find it. There will be a private store release of the Shelter Point 10-year-old coming in the fall if people missed that at the summer spirits release in BC. I talked to the Shelter Point, one of the Shelter Point reps in the Lower Mainland, and she told me that there's going to be the government store release and there's going to be the private store release. So still hope if you're looking for that. What Silverdale, what did you pick up? Let me know in the comments what you got, if you got anything good. I passed up the Ardbeg Heavy Vapors. That might be of interest to some people here. I tried the committee release of Ardbeg Heavy Vapors at the Ardbeg Distillery, and I've passed up buying the limited edition here in Canada. Not terribly impressed with it. I love the concept. I wanted to try it because it's such a unique thing to take the purifier off of the stills and to see what happens, but wasn't super impressed, especially for the price on the Ardbeg committee release. Independently bottled Lefroy is also very good, often very thick and oily, and also hands up for Cologne. Yeah, I love my Williamson releases. That's the name that they give to secret Lefroys in independent bottle circles, as well as like Leapfrog and a few others. But if you see a bottle of Williamson, usually it's at a pretty fair price if it's on the younger side. Yeah, I can't get enough of those. Just snagged a Cuddy 12 from the 80s, bottom shelf. But still a taste of an era. Yeah, no, old blends. There's a lot of value in old blends, especially at an auction. Quig, I'm guessing that's Food Quig, usually comes home with a receipt about 4 feet long. Yeah, I could imagine. Just looking at like I remember in his older videos, it might still be there, all the boxes and tubes stacked up. Yeah, he's got a scroll. I'm sure, of purchases. That power outage forced me to splurge on a Hardbeg 19 last year. No regrets. Oh, oh yes, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was very hard to do that. Ardbeg 19. Wow, that's a bottle. Is that the Treg, man? Either way, I'm glad for the power outage then. Forced you into a nice whiskey. Cheers, whiskey on the West Coast from the East Coast. Where are you on the East Coast, Greg? Greg Stafford. Welcome here. Glad to have you here. I'm a bit of a mystery wrapped in enigma. In the fact that I'm East Coast on the West Coast, so my family's all from the Maritimes in Canada, Nova Scotia specifically. But I grew up on the West Coast and live on the West Coast, so yeah, kind of repping both. Sugar Kitty, very happy that Shelter Point has opened up to us Americans with their website that will ship to almost all states here. Yeah, that was a great. Maybe you caught the announcement that Rob Whiskey in the Six did with the Shelter Point, with Chris from Shelter Point. Yeah, glad they're distributing, and yeah, no, I'm glad you guys will be able to get your hands on some of it. I actually, uh, I'll talk about this again later, but on my trip to Scotland, I brought a bottle of whiskey with me from Canada, and because well, people treat you so well and so kindly that you want to go ahead and return the favor, and so I brought a bottle of Shelter Point Smoke Point. Actually, this one, this isn't the exact same bottle, but it's the same batch, same everything. Smoke Point. I brought this with me to pour for the people I met and the people that hosted us at distilleries, just because you want to return the favor. And people loved it, and some people wanted to see if it could get distributed in Scotland. Don't think it's in Scotland yet. I don't know if it will be anytime soon. But yeah, happy you guys got Shelter Point. And I was very happy to pour these for the lovely tour guides and hosts and anyone I could meet that would appreciate it. That I highly suggest doing that, guys. If you visit Islay or Scotland, bring something from where you're from. I brought something from British Columbia, Canada, that you probably can't get in Scotland, and share it. And I think it's well worth it, and it's a nice touch. Ardbeg Committee, unfortunately, seems like they jumped the shark completely. No longer buying those. Yeah, I tried the Bizarre barbecue. Keep your mind open for the Bizarre barbecue because that was actually pretty delicious. But I don't think that's officially a committee release, and they have jumped the shark. I mean, if you remember their cryptocurrency bottling they did for like I think it was about $2,200 in ether or something. It's just too much marketing, too much marketing. But that's been flogged to death by everyone else on Whiskey Tube. Silverdale grabbed the Shelter Point 10, the Port Charlotte SC. I've got that one. Was the big winner. And Paul John Oloroso cask with some Indian whiskey for Dad on Father's Day. Nicely done. By the way, raise a glass in honor of your dad. Thanks for saying that, Silverdale. I appreciate that. If you guys, I put out a Father's Day video with a tale of whiskey and my dad, who sadly passed away a couple years ago. But yeah, cheers to fathers out there, and yeah, thank you. Cheers. Mm, kind of you to say. Sugar Kitty, yeah, it was Whiskey in the Six where I heard it and bought online during this. There you go. Greg Stafford, Fredericton, nice. New Brunswick. Used to live in Halifax a few years back. Did you get any of the Sons of Vancouver yet? I got the last two releases. I do have some Sons of Vancouver. I have one unopened. It is the original, the batch that won best whiskey of the year for Canada, the best whiskey in Canada last year at the Canadian Whiskey Awards. The palm trees and a tropical breeze. So special day that will be opened up, and when I do, I'll let you guys know my thoughts. But Sons of Vancouver, very small distillery, working mainly with rye and making waves. Glad you got a few releases of them all the way out in New Brunswick. That's fantastic. Dick Lake getting in there with his thoughts on the Paul John Oloroso. It's a great whiskey. Yeah, and Silverdale, those other whiskeys you bought, the Port Charlotte SCO1, I loved that whiskey. Yeah, okay. So with what's ahead, where we're going, we do not need roads. We need whiskey. And so I want to bring you more whiskey videos, more whiskey content, reviews. I got to get some more reviews up. I've been doing a lot of lists because I've been trying to recover from drinking so much in Scotland. So I've been taking a few weeks off of for my own benefit. But but I've got some video ideas coming up. I talked about the Legic 18. I'm going to do a comparison Legic 18 to the 10 and give you my thoughts on that bottle. But you know already from today that I'm a pretty big believer in that bottling. Also have some other things. I got some samples of actually the oldest whiskey I have ever tried. So when I get my hands on that bottle, it's currently in the mail. When I pour it in my glass and get my greasy little mitts on it, I will of course record it for you guys and let you know what I think. Um, yeah, very excited for that. I actually have the oldest single grain Scotch and oldest single malt Scotch that I've ever had. So that's coming up. I also have a sample of a whiskey that won best whiskey in the world for 2023 from an independent bottler that may or may not be on this table. So some spoilers there, some hints. I have a little trepidation reviewing samples because I know really you can only get an idea. Again, I call them first impressions because that isn't the full story of the bottle. Roy and his recycled reviews and John, the whiskey neighbor, they and Just Whiskey does this too. John from Just Whiskey. You really have an entire story as you drink down a bottle. And so the best way to review a bottle is once you drink the whole thing. But of course, I want to bring you guys as much information as you can. And so I still see value in reviewing samples, or at least giving you guys my thoughts on them, even though that's not the full story. So I hope you don't mind the sample reviews. I can only buy so many bottles, and it helps to stretch the whiskey dollars a bit further to give you guys some more information on whether or not you should buy something. Oh yes, okay. I'm gonna check a couple comments here, and then I'm gonna tell you about a project I'm really excited about. I put a lot of work into, and I hope you guys enjoy. Um, Kiwigore, New Zealand checking in again. Ardbeg committee is way too expensive in my market, but Octomores are even more. Yeah, I could see that. 10 to 50% more. Are the Octomores that much better? Never had one, so I'm legit curious. I did a Bruichladdich 2022 peated range rundown on my channel where I tasted the 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3s. I'll tell you right now, I didn't buy any of the 13s. I bought 12, I bought an 11, I bought a 10. The prices are getting up there. If there's one that really interests me and I might splurge out on it. If you've never had it, I'd say it's worth it because it is an experience. It's a unique and singular experience having an Octomore. But there is the law of diminishing returns. Eventually, the whiskey's just not going to keep up with what you're paying for it. I'd suggest if you have someone local who might be able to provide a sample, do so. If I could, I would. I don't think I can ship whiskey to New Zealand from Canada, unfortunately. The Mithuna is a stellar pour if you ever get a chance. Yeah, that one got a lot of good reviews, a lot of good hype, Peter. Paul John is something I need to explore a lot more. Late to the stream, congrats on the 1K Whiskey and Wine Trails. Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us here. Also saw you earlier on the Scotch for Dummies stream. Yeah, welcome here. We're just about to wrap up, but hey, better now than never, right? Greg picked up the Porsche SEO1 as well. One of my favorites this year. Yeah, that SEO1 is great. One of my favorite of the Cask Exploration series in a long while for Port Charlotte. Skipped one here. Paul John in general is great distillery. The edit surprised me. Blind tasting. Silverdale, love the experience of Octomore, but the Port Charlotte SC is everything I want from a peated Bruichladdich. Yeah, the value really is in the Port Charlotte range. Like if you wanted to have a sneak peek at what a 0.3 Octomore is like, I mean, that's an Islay barley Octomore. For the longest time, they only did them from ex-bourbon. And you could get that at an older age, but not cask strength and not with the ridiculous phenol levels from the Bruichladdich Port Charlotte Islay barley series for a long time. It was 7 or 8 or maybe even 9 years old instead of 5 years old, 100% Islay barley, bottled at 50%, not cask strength. And the peat is at 40 phenol parts per million. So if you want to like a little like, I don't know, a value mini Octomore, if you will, I'm a big believer in those Port Charlotte Islay barley bottlings. And I think I got my last bottle of Port Charlotte Islay barley for like, I think it was $85, $90, like 1/3 of the price of a bottle of Octomore. Finally, Aaron Pickens, I got a 13.1, waiting to be unopened for the eventual promotion. Looking forward to trying it. Well, good luck on the promotion, Aaron. I hope you get it. I tried the Octomore point 0.1, 13.1. That was my favorite of the 13s. Again, I have that range rundown, and if I'm remembering correctly, yeah, the 13.1 was the pick. So well done grabbing that one there. So the project I'm really excited for, guys, that I want to tell you about is I'm gonna take a sip of whiskey. It's out here. I got to drink it. Mm. The project I'm really excited for is a project that is about peat. And I have been digging into a lot of news, a lot of articles, a lot of research, a lot of old government reports on peat in the Pacific Northwest and in Western Canada. Um, and I really believe the future of North American single malt whiskey is peated. We had the Westland Solemn released, which was made with Washington peat. We've had Copperworks in Washington State release Washington peat releases. We've had a number of British Columbia, Canada distilleries release Washington peat single malt. And now we have a distillery that is actually malting their own barley on Vancouver Island, some of it to 54 ppm with local peat. And there's been some setbacks in the recent weeks towards this movement, but overall, I think there's going to be a move away from sourcing peated barley from places like Baird's or Crisp's maltings in Scotland, and working with our local terroir, working with what we have here. And newsflash, there's a ton of peat in Canada, and it's not as closely protected as what's in Scotland or Ireland. So I'm working on something I'm calling the North American Peat Project. I've put way too many hours of research into it. I'm having to cut a lot of my information, a lot of graphs, a lot of pictures, because there's just too much. It would be a 3-hour, 4-hour video. It might be good fodder for a live stream, but I'm not sure I could present it coherently and succinctly enough for that. But I've been working on it for a couple months. It got delayed by the Islay trip because it wasn't quite done. But I want to bring that project to you. But yeah, furthermore to that, Islay and Campbelltown distillery visit and just travel tips for those areas. And again, more reviews, more lists. Always just let me know in the comments what you guys want to see from Whiskey on the West Coast. As much as this is my channel and Kyla's channel, it's your channel. You guys make this channel what it is. Without you, there is no channel. Without your comments and your feedback, I'm not making these videos. So let me know what you guys like. And yeah, I'm hoping to bring a lot of exciting content in the future, hoping to keep improving. As you could see, if you were here at the beginning from the clip from our first trial run on the Legend 10 review, we've come a long way, and we're hoping to continue to improve. So thank you once again for all the support, guys. Thank you for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. This has been a journey. It's been I have to remain humble in this because I'm not bragging here. I'm just shocked that we've gotten to 1,000 subscribers in the time we have. And so I can only thank you guys for that. So thank you for making this community and this channel what it is. We'll do a final check-in on the comments here, and then I think we're all free to go and enjoy our Saturdays and or Sundays. Again, shout out to New Zealand. All right. Let's see here. Stephen Gibson. Good evening from sunny Fife, Scotland. Oh man, Fife. I'm thinking of Daft Mill right now. Congratulations on your 1K subs. Keep up with the amazing work and content. Thank you, Stephen, so much. I really appreciate you jumping on the live stream and for the kind words. Thank you. Silverdale nap sounds like a plan. Yeah. I don't know if I actually finish all these glasses, maybe I will need a nap. NAPP. Yeah. NAPP. I could shorten it to that. I mean, I'm thinking about a nap right now, but NAPP, North American Peat Project. Nice. I like it. And I like it a lot. Peter White, 2 hours and 20 minutes without a Springbank mention. Good job. Yeah, I mean, listen to the latest Dram Face podcast if you want your Springbank content. Eventually, I'll have my moment. I'll plenty of Springbank to come, I'm sure. But we all get a little tired. Sugar Kitty, Fish Key, tuna flavored whiskey. Okay, maybe that's just me. I mean, there was a Fish Key. There was a Bruichladdich release. A German independent bottler, I think, took a cask that either was rinsed or had like sardines or something in it, and made a Bruichladdich Fish Key. I think they actually called it Fish Key. Terrifying proposition, but I don't know. Sugar Kitty, maybe you'll like it, or maybe you've had it. I don't know. It's quite an old release. Yeah, that's a wild thing. Take a look. Hey Matt, great live stream. Always enjoying your videos. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you for being here today. And Watchman 999, good luck, Matt. Great work. Cheers. Thank you for all your support, Watchman. You've been here basically from the beginning, along with so many of the rest of you. One more word for Sugar Kid here. I am familiar with the fish. I bet you are. Excellent, guys. Well, thank you once again. We're almost 2.5 hours. Yeah, this was a good first live stream. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the 1,000 subscribers. The 7.1 lived up to this bottle crack. I'm gonna enjoy this whiskey for a while. I'll bring you a review when it's ready. And yeah, enjoy the weekend. I hope you're all well wherever you are in this world. And from the West Coast, till next time, Slange. I can't edit this part out this time. Cheers, guys.